So I've been getting a lot of questions lately about AI share of voice, and I thought it might be helpful if we sat down and we talked about it. And so when brands are coming to me, they want to know how often their brand shows up in those AI generated answers and whether that means they're winning or not. And it's a fair question, but the problem is this. AI share of voice is not one single thing, and it can't be measured with one universal number. And if we treat it that way, well, we're going to end up drawing the wrong conclusions. Hi, I'm Cassie Clark. I'm a fractional content strategist and the host of the Found in AI podcast, where I help marketers and founders learn AI search so we don't get lost in this new wave of search that's coming. Let's pretend I can talk today. It's a Monday. Hot Mess Express. So let's dig right on into this. Why AI share voice is different from SEO? Let's start there. Well, it's because AI generated answers, they don't work like traditional search. Like, we know this. But it's helpful to talk about it because in traditional search, you get a list of links. Rankings are fairly deterministic and you kind of know where your brand stands at all times. But those AI answers are different. Depending on the prompt, an AI system might explain something, it might summarize multiple sources, or recommend tools or people, or even ask a follow-up question before narrowing it down to a specific answer. And each of those behaviors relies on different trust signals inside of those models. So the way that we measure visibility has to change based on how the answer is produced. So there are two types of AI share voice that are particularly meaningful, and they measure different kinds of influence. That's entity-based and citation-based. So entity-based AI share voice, it shows up most clearly in those recommendation style prompts. So for example, you go in and you type, okay, recommend a fractional content strategist, or what's the best CRM for a salon, or I need a new car, which one has the best gas mileage? In those cases, the model, it doesn't usually cite sources, but it does pull from its internal understanding of brands and people and then presents a numbered list of options. So if 3 options appear inside the answer, each one effectively holds about a third of the entity-based share of voice for that prompt. So this is not about citations, this is more about memory and recall. Entity-based AI share of voice, it reflects what a model knows about a brand. It tells you how well your brand is understood as a concept. And then it also helps you understand whether the model recalls you when those recommendations are made. Citation-based AI share of voice is a little bit different, and it applies to those informational or instructional prompts. So things like, how do I evaluate AI search visibility, or how do I make an apple pie, or how do I crochet this pattern for these shorts that I want to make? So in these cases, the model usually pulls from multiple sources and then stitches them together into a single answer. And this is where the math people get a little excited because it's brand citations divided by total citations times 100. It's going to tell you whether your content is being trusted as a source material, and it measures influence, but it's not really telling you whether or not the model remembers you as an entity. So here's where dashboards, while helpful, fall short just a smidgen. AI systems are probabilistic, so the same prompt can produce slightly different answers over time as those models reweight sources and as user personalization plays a role into this. So a single AI share voice number doesn't mean much on its own, but used correctly, it should be averaged over time. You want to segment it by prompt type and then treat it as a signal, not so much a score. So it's kind of similar to how we use metrics like domain authority in SEO. It's super, super useful in context, but it's not a decision by itself. So what does good AI share voice look like? Well, I'm so glad that you asked because context absolutely matters here. So general guidelines, again, apply it with context when you're looking at your numbers. On informational prompts, a citation-based share voice above about 40% usually indicates a strong influence. On recommendation prompts, entity-based share voice roughly at like 33% often signals strong recall. Anything below 20% is kind of a warning sign. It does not mean a failure. It's just there's a lack of authority signals to get your brain inside of those answers. So AI share voice really only matters when you're using it to inform your strategy. When share voice is low, like 20% or less, well, the answer is not to go track more prompts. I mean, that might be helpful in the long term, but that's not going to help with getting your brain to those answers. It just means the answer is strengthening what the models know about your brand. And that usually means applying the FSA framework. So those freshness, structure, and authority. And the metric is going to tell you what you're missing here. Strategy determines what to publish next and where and how based on what your goals and outcomes are. So as AI-generated answers increasingly shape those decisions before people even click a link, visibility inside of these answers absolutely matters. AI share of voice helps you diagnose whether your brand is influencing those answers or if it's missing from the answers entirely. If you want a clear prompt level view of where your visibility stands and why, that's the work I'm doing right now. I'm going to link everything below. I'm also going to link to a case study that I thought was super interesting. I tracked a prompt for a week. I wanted to see what happened when new content was pushed out and whether or not it affected AI share voice, and it did. I'm going to link it below because I'm nerding out a little bit over the numbers. But stick around. I will be talking about this and more in future videos. I appreciate it if you subscribe. Thanks. I'll see you later.